Mike Lindell is willing to completely bankrupt MyPillow to continue his fight. So let's get into it. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell has vowed to never settle in defamation cases brought against him, even if it means his company goes bankrupt. Lindell is currently embroiled in defamation lawsuits filed by voting machine companies Smartmatic and Dominion Voting Systems. Both companies argued their reputations were severely damaged by Lindell's unfounded claims that the 2020 presidential election was won by Donald Trump and that the companies conspired to rig voting machines. Lindell is a longtime ally of the former president and one of several who have faced legal action following false claims of election rigging in 2020. He also has spoken out recently about the financial problems MyPillow is facing. Now, what some people might need to understand is that for a lot of, let's say, right leaning content creators, shows, radio shows, etc., MyPillow was one of the biggest sponsors for those shows. So we're talking potentially like a lot of these like content creators that might not be advertiser friendly, where maybe the main source of income from like for their stuff might have been from his company. So it's going to put a lot of hurt on them to try to figure out a way to generate revenue because they're probably going to have to lay off people. They're probably going to be in financial issues or financial struggles unless they're able to figure something out. So that's the kind of like problem if you rely on only one income source, where like if this is your main stream of income, like his company with the whole My Pillow stuff, and that goes away because the company ends up dissolving, you're kind of in a pretty bad financial spot as a, I guess, right wing content creator. So, speaking with Steve Bannon, former White House senior advisor to Trump, and now host of the War Room podcast, Lindell vowed that he would not settle with Dominion and Smartmatic. Lindell said he would never settle anything and never stop fighting no matter what, while reiterating false claims about the 2020 election. Bannon asked Lindell, "You're prepared to take this to the bitter end, even if it means the bankruptcy of MyPillow?" Lindell responded, "We don't have a country if we don't win this. You know what? My employees, everybody understands that. That has been amazing the last 3 days, and with the pouring out of support." So let's check this out.
I just want to make sure we understand where you're coming from. You're prepared to take this to the bitter,
Of course.
if that means the bankruptcy and liquidation of MyPillow, sir.
We don't have a country if we don't win this, everybody. So you know what, my employees, everybody understands that, and they're counting on you and the War Room Posse, and you guys have come through. And all of the products are MyPillow 2.0. It's been amazing the last 3 days, and with the pouring out of
support. Yeah. So as he spoke, he clutched a pillow, presumably one from his own range, and held it against his face. You know, it's kind of crazy. I'm surprised that he's able to make such a huge business from pillows, right? Because I think he makes crazy amounts of millions of dollars from this. Bannon said the media would spin this negatively, claiming they would talk about the fall of Mike Lindell. "We knew he'd go down. It's funny how they protect all these machine companies. They protect the evil." In September, Lindell said that vendors became uneasy when MyPillow initiated an online auction to sell off industrial equipment and various items that were no longer needed, with some items failing to attract even a single bid. In response to the situation, Lindell had to reassure his vendors and emphasize that the company was not financially distressed. Lindell noted that the situation deteriorated further and claimed American Express reduced his credit line from $1 million to $100,000. He mentioned that a vendor even threatened to shorten their payment terms from 120 days to 60 days. Now, this is one of the reasons why I'd like to push for staying out of debt, like to get out of debt, because if he didn't have to rely on a credit line to make things like run, if he had this like cash pile just sitting there for operating expenses, he wouldn't even necessarily even have to deal with American Express. He wouldn't necessarily have to care about the payment terms of some of the vendors, but because his company probably does run on margin, it's kind of like a bad issue because like if things just happen like at the snap of the fingers, if he's not able to move product fast enough to where he could actually get the profits back, it's going to be a pretty bad situation. So Lindell, who faced challenges with major retailers refusing to stock MyPillow products, had previously accused American Express of severely impacting his company by decreasing his credit line. He said at the time, American Express, I wasn't going to say this, we've been with them 15 years and we do all of our online marketing, all our shipping with them. Out of the blue, they took our credit line from $1 million down to $100,000, just cripples MyPillow. So there's actually two reasons why this is bad for him, right? One, that he's relying on debt. Two, that he's relying on only one company through this process, right? Now, yeah, sometimes it might be a good idea to like simplify stuff, but if you simplify it to the point where if that like head of that, snake gets cut, is completely dead, your whole operation is basically dead, that's going to be a pretty big issue. So an American Express spokesperson told Newsweek, we can't comment on specific customer accounts or applications, but I can tell you that American Express does not make customer decisions based on personal views or political affiliations. This one I kind of doubt. I'm pretty certain American Express would make customer decisions based off that because pretty much every single major corporation would to some degree. But I think it's foolish for them to drop the credit line from $1 million to $100,000 without really any notice. Now it might be maybe the real case is like, hey, they were like, in 60 days we are going to be decreasing your credit line from $1 million to $100,000 because we are starting to see red flags when it comes to you making payments. That would be a completely different story. To add to Lindell's troubles, this week lawyers defending him claim they are seeking to sever ties with him over millions of dollars in outstanding legal fees. In a court filing Thursday, the law firm of Parker Daniels Kibort LLC said Lindell and MyPillow are months behind on their legal bills in 3 defamation cases, and they can no longer afford to represent him. The firm said continuing to represent Lindell could threaten the survival of their business. Despite the fallout from not paying his legal representatives, Lindell praised Parker Daniels Kibort for representing him in recent years. Lindell told Newsweek on Thursday, we haven't been able to pay them, lawyers, for the past couple months. These lawyers were courageous, Lindell said. They took on a case where every other lawyer in this country are afraid to take on any case against the electronic voting machines and the evil that's out there. This was a great group of attorneys and they need to get paid, and if there's no money to pay them, they can't keep going. Well, at least Lindell is like very cordial with these lawyers, being like, we simply just don't got the money to pay them to protect us. Which is kind of interesting to see. Very interesting. Very interesting. If you stumble upon this, feel free to give your thoughts. I just find it interesting, like, how big of an impact this might become if he does end up going bankrupt. Because, again, like I mentioned, there are a lot of right wing or not safe for advertisers, content creators, where MyPillow is a very large revenue stream for those people. Like I'm talking about like there's probably some like podcasters or YouTubers or whatever who are probably making a few hundred grand, if not millions of dollars a year just from MyPillow, just from their like specific code or affiliate link or whatever. So we're talking about like crazy amounts of money that some of these people could be actually making. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind because if a lot of these content creators don't have a way to monetize their business, right? Whatever they're doing, their show, they're going to stop doing it eventually because money is just going to run out, right? So, for example, let's say that you had like a show or a company or whatever doing $500,000 a year after taxes, to keep it simple. But what if 400,000 of $400,000 after tax came from basically My Pillow, right? And that just goes away. That means you're going to have to figure out a way to replace that money very quickly, or you could be facing some pretty serious trouble within your business because let's say that you got a couple employees. You're kind of in a pretty big crap pile at that point, right? Now, I think it'd probably be better to like keep your costs very low if you're in this type of business so that if something does happen, you could quickly just try to figure something out, or you might have a little bit more like cushion to try to find a solution to this. But this is why it's never a good idea to just rely on like one stream of income. That's why, like, a lot of people would prefer to work like a 9 to 5 job. And there's nothing wrong with working like a 9 to 5 job, but they think that they are like secure by working that 9 to 5 job because they just get a paycheck. The problem with that, you can be fired literally at any point. And depending on the state, you could literally be fired for potentially any reason. Like the boss could just not like you and you could be fired depending on the state. So if you only have one source of income, that's a really big issue because then you're going to have to go do something that you really don't want to do to make enough money to pay for your cost of living. That's why like I see like a lot of people who are like retired military vets where they get the retirement income. That allows them a little bit more freedom because okay, they probably get enough money from the retirement from the military to just pay their living cost so that technically speaking they can basically work any job that they want, etc. So you might want to like think of a way to like somehow get that type of structure where you have money coming in no matter what from some sort of source, or maybe you just do something on the side to just bring in some extra income, or maybe sell your own product if you got like some sort of company. Like maybe you have instead of one product, you have two products. Maybe if you are like an entertainment company or content company, you get money from advertisements, then you get money from subscribers who like your stuff, then you get money from like donations from people who just want to support your content, and then you sell your own products as well. So you get multiple streams of income where you don't have to rely solely on this. Where like this could still be a big portion of it, but you still have multiple sources so that if something goes away, you're still going to be okay. Like I think for example, there's been a lot of people getting canceled on like YouTube and their like monetization just gets wiped, right? So they could have literally been making millions of dollars on YouTube and then nothing, right? Well, they typically would have a t-shirt company. They would probably have, again, donations. They will probably have subscribers on their own private website. They might have a Patreon. They even might have like an OF or something that allows people to like pay so that you don't necessarily have to rely on just YouTube or some other big, massive corporation to just survive. So it's just something to think about. I thought it was pretty interesting when I stumbled upon this because, again, a lot of people are actually probably going to be affected by this because he was sponsoring a crazy amount of content creators, radio show hosts, etc.